You are now listening to the Pelicans Postgame Report. Flash Report.
For all things Pelicans, you're now tuned into the Pelican Postgame Report. Shout out to the fan. Appreciate y'all. Join us for this episode of PPR. Feel free to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and by all means, feel free to share your show on social media feed. The Pelicans schedule release, fam. The Pelicans have released their schedule. Very interesting schedule. We're going to delve into it. 3 topics on this episode of PPR. So before we get going, please do me a service. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. By all means, feel free to share PPR on your social media feed with all the diehard Pelican family members across the world. All right, so let's take a look at this schedule, man. Y'all had an opportunity to kind of galvanize and jump right into this schedule. And the reality is, the Pelicans finished 21-61 last year. Joe Dumars took over the team. They made several different moves going forward. They unleashed their schedule, and the Pelicans must-see TV with Zion, number 1 overall pick back in 2019. They awarded the Pelicans 30 national televised games that year. That number has dwindled since. The Pelicans had 18 televised games 3 years ago. 2 years ago, it was 12. Last season, it was 13. This year, has dwindled. So there's 2 games, 2 national TV games against the Spurs, December the 8th, and, of course, the Grizzlies on January the 30th. Now, of course, this could change as the Pelicans pick up wins, but it'll be interesting. A lot of back-to-backs to talk about. The dreaded back-to-back games was something that we always dealt with issues with the Pelicans. Was even more important that the Pelicans, especially being cautious with Zion Williamson with the back-to-back games. Now, according to what, I've been able to gather, there is no restriction on Zion in back-to-back games coming to the season. He's completely healthy, and so we should be able to see him play the back-to-backs like we want to. He needs to play to galvanize the team. He needs to play to get better. Pelicans had 16 back-to-back games on last season schedule. Them people went 6-26 in those games. This season, they have 15 back-to-back games. So 16 last year, 15 back-to-back this year. This will be a major point of contention for the Pelican faithful because 6-26 on back-to-back games is not good. Now, the toughest stretch 2 years ago, the Pelicans were the best road team in the NBA. They won 28 games away from the Smoothie King Center, but road wins were hard to come by last year. The 2 road stretches, the most difficult is a 3-game stretch, October against the Nuggets, the Clippers, and the Thunders. Then late February, there's a 6-game road trip out west to play Utah twice, both LA teams, Sacramento and Phoenix. And there's a tough 5-game homestand in mid-November that includes the Lakers, Warriors, Thunder, and Nuggets. Then, they plan the Clippers on Halloween, the Lakers, Clippers, Mavericks, Grizzlies, and group play for the in-season tournament is not easy. The easiest stretch that they're going to see is going to be with the back-to-back games in March with Washington and Toronto. But you never know because the Pelicans have difficulties under Willie Green with teams like Toronto, right? And then, of course, you'll see games as if you're a supporter of both the Saints and the Pels. They play right next to each other. So you'll see 2 Sundays where the Pels and Saints play on the same day. November the 2nd, the Pels play in OKC. The Saints play the Rams on November the 2nd. And then November the 30th, the Pels play at LA and the Saints play at Miami on the same day. So it just worked knowing that they actually do that. So a little backdrop on that as we get going. So let's kind of just go right into the schedule. Let me see if I can superimpose it for the family members so they can see the schedule. So it's very interesting, to be honest with you, of what we're going to see by the Pelicans this year. October schedule, opening up October, Memphis. They're at Memphis on October the 22nd. They match up at Memphis. They open the season there. Their first home game, San Antonio on the 24th. Then 3 days later, they got Boston at home. That is interesting. The month of October schedule is a difficult one. Opening up at Memphis, that's the kind of that rivalry thing. We'd love to see that rivalry thing between Memphis and the Pelicans, right? Ja Morant, Zion ready to go opening day. The Spurs is going to be a tough one. And Boston's always a tough one. The Pelicans, these are home games. Then the Pelicans hit the road in October and the 29th and the 31st. They take on the Denver Nuggets and the LA Clippers on the road. So this is going to be one of them situations where the Pelicans, we're going to find out early on what type of team. Those are 5 very, really difficult matchups. Memphis, San Antonio, Boston, Denver, and the Clippers is going to be interesting as well. And the Clippers games is NBA Cup game. So you'll see that NBA Cup game. And the gold circle is representative of that. In November, it doesn't get any easier either for the Pelicans. OKC, we open it up against the NBA champion OKC team at the start of November. Come home for Charlotte, right? Which is, it seems all right. Then hit the road against Dallas, San Antonio, and Phoenix, right? Dallas, we get an opportunity to look at, Cooper Kupp, AD, and all these guys. Then you have San Antonio again, this time in San Antonio, and then you take on Phoenix, right? Then the Pelicans come home for a road stand. They welcome Portland, the Lakers, Golden State, OKC, and Denver again. They hit the road for one game to go to Dallas for the NBA Cup game. Also, that Lakers game on the 14th of November is a Cup game, NBA Cup game. Then after coming back for that one road trip to Dallas, the Pelicans then line up with matchups against Atlanta, Chicago, Memphis again, and they close out November against Golden State and the Lakers. So they go to Golden State and the Lakers after the 3-game homestand there. So the month of November is very agreeable insofar as the home games, right? Still a lot of tough games. The Pelicans home games in November are interesting, especially the first block of those games, right? Portland is a team we said that should be a W, but Portland plays the Pelicans well. They play the Pelicans well. They beat the Pelicans. The Lakers, Golden State, OKC the champs, and Denver again. Difficult. Very difficult matchups, right? And then you finish the month against Golden State and the Lakers in their buildings. So Willie Green is going to be tested early on and often. Going into December, the Pelicans spend the majority of December at home in the Smoothie King Center, right? A lot of home games. What's really interesting of note to say this, fam, is the fact that the Pelicans have a lot of home games in November and December. They should take full advantage of playing at home. Now, to talk about the back-to-back games, before we get into the month of December, the back-to-back games, no back-to-back games in October and November. They do get a back-to-back game. They get a back-to-back game twice. They get it on the road and at home. The first block actually 3 times in November. The 11th of November, they're against Charlotte. Then they immediately travel to Dallas to take them on. So that's the first block. The second group of back-to-backs happens in the Pelicans' first homestand of November when they match up against Golden State, and then they have OKC the next day, and then a day later they got Denver. So they're going to really need to kind of handle up. Also, another back-to-back game will be the Dallas game on the November the 21st, which is an NBA Cup game at Dallas. Then the Pels have to come back home on the 22nd against the Hawks, right? And then to finish out November, they have Golden State and the Lakers on back-to-back games. So it's going, man, listen, they got to get it. And as we move into December, you can see the Pelicans spend all of December, most of December games, except for 3 games, they spent the majority of time in the Smoothie King Center. Minnesota, first 2 games, Minnesota on the 2nd of December, on the 4th of December. Then they travel to Brooklyn, the first road game in December to Brooklyn. Then they come home for 4 home matchups against the Spurs. They get a little break in between the Spurs and Houston game. They get almost 10 days a break between the Spurs and Houston, right? Before they, that. So they play San Antonio on 12th on the December the 8th. Then they have about 10 days off before they meet Houston, then Indiana, then Dallas. Now, Dallas is the last game of that first block of home games, and then they have a back-to-back there. On December the 22nd, the Pelicans finish up their homestand against Dallas, and then immediately have to travel to a tough Cleveland team 2 days before Christmas to take on the Cavaliers, right? Then, after Christmas is over with, the 26th, the Pelicans come home and they get back-to-back matchups against Phoenix. Then they get New York on the 29th, and then they close out December in the 2025 season against the Chicago Bulls. So at this point, I ask you, what do you have? Now, listen, we're going to come back on Saturday stream and we're going to go over this stuff with everybody, DC and Lex. We're going to go over, shout out to DC. He sent me some stuff as well, just to let you know, just breaking it down. We'll talk about this on Saturday afternoon stream, and we'll get predictions from you guys in that stream. We'll talk about that. We'll kind of figure that stuff out and kind of go from there, right? But that's what we really need to do. So I listen, December, man, listen, there's a lot of home games. It's a very interesting schedule. But what y'all put it, listen, we're going to finish it up. January, y'all going to put in the comment section, because I know y'all will be steaming. And how many games could Willie Green, what could be done here? It's going to be the first couple of months, man. The 2025 schedule is going to be interesting to see if Willie Green, if he can win with this club. Of course, then 2026 is now here. January of 2026 arrived. The Pelicans, a lot of road games. They're going to be out there. They started the season at home against Portland in 2026, the new year. They travel to Miami. Then they come home for the Lakers. Then they have 3 away games: Atlanta, Washington, and Orlando. Very winnable games there, but we don't never beat Orlando, but who knows. Then you have the back-to-back game, which will be Lakers and Atlanta at the 6th and 7th of the year, right, of January. The block of first home games back-to-backs, Denver and Brooklyn. Then the Pelicans travel the road against Indiana and Houston. They come home for 1 game against Detroit, and then they hit the road against Memphis, San Antonio, and OKC. Then they come home for the Memphis matchup, and they have the back-to-back for the home game against Memphis, and they immediately travel to Philly to take on the 76ers. That ends January. February kicks in, right? February kicks in, a block of road games to start off: Charlotte, Milwaukee, Minnesota, for the Pelicans. And then they get a block of home games in February. Very agreeable, right? Sacramento, Miami. Then they have the All-Star break after the 11th. They return for the 20th. And then they have a back-to-back immediately. So they come back off the All-Star break against Giannis and the Bucks. And then, but they're home games, of course. And then they welcome Philadelphia the next day. And then, of course, they finish that block of home games against Golden State. Golden State comes in. Then they travel the last 2 games of February to Utah, and they have 2 games against Utah on the 26th and 28th of February. Then comes March Madness. They open up the March schedule at Clippers, at Lakers, at Sacramento, and a back-to-back against Phoenix. So Sacramento and Phoenix will be back-to-back matchups for those road games opening up March. Then the Pels come home on the 8th of March against Washington, the 11th against Toronto. Then they hit the road on the 13th of March to go to Houston. And then 3 days later, they come home to meet Cooper Kupp and AD in Dallas and Kyrie Irving, right? And then, of course, the rest of it is for the March schedule, 3 road games block that the Pels have, right? 3 road games, actually 4. Dallas is the first of that block, and then the Pelicans have 2 back-to-back games both against the Clippers. So the 18th of March and the 19th of March They got the back-to-back. Then the 21st, Cleveland, right? Then they end their homestand. They hit the road to go to New York to take on the Knicks. They have a back-to-back against the Pistons and Toronto on the road. They come home to finish March schedule against the Rockets. Then April, last regular season month, they open up against a back-to-back against Portland and Sacramento on the road. They have Orlando on the 5th of April, and the last regular season home game is against Utah. Then they hit the road against Boston, and the final regular season game for the Pelicans, an away game at Minnesota. Very interesting schedule. A lot of home games to start off the Pelicans schedule in 2025. And how does it look for you guys in terms of wins and losses? Put it in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about wins and losses and get your breakdown on it, your thoughts in the comment section. And also, before we leave, let's take a look at this article from Yardbarker. 5 NBA head coaches starting the 2025-2026 season on the hot seat. When an NBA team is struggling, it can change the players or the coach with free agency all but done. Rosters are set. So it's the men on the sidelines who are the most vulnerable. 5 NBA coaches who start the season on the hot list. Number 1, straight off the bat, is Willie Green. I ain't going to talk about the rest of them, but the first one right off the bat is Willie Green. Green is in a precarious position entering his 5th season with the Pels. He took his team on a future salary to add Poole from Washington in June, a win-now move, but also added 2 lottery picks in Fears and Queen. They traded next year's first-round pick to get Queen, so they expect to make playoffs. Still, the team's success depends on the health of Zion Williamson, who has missed a combined 199 games over the last 4 years, almost 200 games. So Green's short leash is partly because his new bosses, Dumars and Weaver, didn't hire him. With Queen already injured, Green will be an easy scapegoat if the Pelicans struggle to start the season. So we're going to see how all of that looks. But a lot of people thinking that Willie Green is in trouble, and he really is. Other coaches on the list, Nick Nurse, J.J. Redick, David Elderman, and Doc Rivers are other remaining coaches, just for people who wanted to know. But Willie Green is definitely on that hot seat, man, to get it. After seeing the schedule, Willie Green has got to be better than what he's been done. We talked about the back-to-backs, how terrible it is, how he loses in clutch time moments because he's not a good strategist in terms of breaking the game down. He's not a really great motivator. He doesn't do anything great or even good for that matter. His rhetoric is boring. He's non-motivational. It's just the guy's not really that good at anything. And the only thing saving his ass is an owner who doesn't know anything about basketball, who likes him. And that's the reason why he got this job. Well, that's not going to count with him having new bosses and the fact that there's a pressure on the team to perform. And what's stopping the team perform is intelligence at the top of the team in the personage of the head coach. Y'all let me know how y'all feel about it. Anyway, with that being said, man, we're going to cut out on that. I appreciate y'all for joining us on this episode of PPR. Hit the like button, hit the notification bell, sub up. If you're not a sub, hit the sub button and join PPR, home of the diehards, man, for all things Pelicans. With that being said, I'm going to get out of here. Y'all hit the like button, hit the share button and the sub button, and I'm going to holler at you on the next one. Shout out to DC and Lex and the Flocking family. I'm going to holler at y'all tomorrow. Much love. Go Pels.
Subscribe now and stay up to date for all things New Orleans Pelicans.